am now 17 plus 5, so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna have to be on Zofran. The reason I was trying to get off it is because, it's not actually prescribed, like, it's not actually made and FDA approved for pregnancy. It's just this been seen as like very safe, even though there are small studies or a small risk of like cleft palate or heart or like defects, and that's enough for I think any mom to like be worried about it. And so I'm like, okay, as I'm getting more further along in pregnancy, maybe my body is starting to adjust a little bit more. But I think the problem is that once you're on Zofran, when you have to get off, you have to slowly wean, and there's still risk of your symptoms and your vomiting returning stronger, which again, if I would have known that, I would have tried to maybe take, instead of that like anti-vomiting type of medication, I would have tried to take like the antihistamine, which is Diclegis, which is basically Unisem B6 put together. So it's just an antihistamine that can really help with like some of the nausea, because sometimes it's a histamine problem, which is why you're throwing up. So I wish I would have actually taken Diclegis or tried it before Zofran, which it's not actually Zofran. It's they give you the generic version, which is ondansetron. Yeah, ondansetron. So I'm prescribed 4 milligrams, 4 milligram tablets, but I'm only taking half of them. So I'm taking 2 milligram tablets, and I take them basically twice a day. Well, a little bit less than twice a day, because I'm now separating them by like 15 hours. So it ends up being a little less than twice a day, which is such a small dose. So when I'm also doing acupuncture. I have a little acupuncture needle in here right now that I got 2 days ago. And then I have, you can't really see them from this angle, but I have a few. I have 1, 2, 3 pressure points. They're little beads that are in my ear that after I eat, I can squeeze them, and they're supposed to connect to like my stomach and a few other things that can just help me like actually digest my food and prevent the nausea. These can stay in for 7 days. This I have to change today because they want you to change it like every 2 to 3 days. I also have my little, my little band, my acupressure band. I have my ginger ale that I'm drinking, and I have B6, and yeah. Anyways, so that is my journey so far. I tried stopping. So I feel like I've been weaning for a few weeks now. So I was like, let me see how I feel. I felt really good yesterday. And then when I was going to bed, I took Unisem. And I normally, that helps, but I still had a really hard time sleeping. And whenever I have that hard time sleeping, it's because like the nausea is kind of starting. Like my gut is starting to get uncomfortable, and I start almost like, it's like a weird hiccup burp. Like my body just like kind of, it like makes it's almost like, it's like a hiccup that doesn't hiccup, or a burp that doesn't actually burp. It's super weird. But that started happening in the night, and I was just waking up like at midnight, at 2, at 3, at 4, at 6. Like I was very consistent. I don't know if I ever fully went back to bed. And then I kind of was like, oh fuck, I wonder if I'm gonna throw up this morning. And I ended up, and every time I was waking up, I was eating something. Like I would have walnuts, or I would have, I have some naan bread, like the Indian naan bread. So I was eating something as I was waking up. And then finally at 7:30, I I puked. So I went to go make myself breakfast. I literally poured cereal because I just wanted something that I could get in my stomach a little quicker, and my hair is so crazy right now. And I puked 7:30, and I just got like, okay, am I gonna not take Zofran? Which is what I did last time. I just was like, let me see how I feel, and it ended up being 13 times, and that's when my midwife was like, you're at risk of like severe dehydration, like you need to take it or go to the ER. So I ended up taking it, and I was fine. And I took it this morning after I puked at 7:30, and I haven't puked, and it's 10. So I mean, it does work for me. It's just like that small tiny risk, like, if I can be off of it and try like Diclegis, which is more of like the antihistamine versus the anti-vomiting. I think it's an anti-emetic is what Zofran is. That word is probably not being pronounced correctly. Then I would rather be on the antihistamine because I feel like it's a little bit easier as well to wean. And since I'm coming up on 20 weeks, and a lot of people say that once they got to 20 weeks, they felt a lot better, I would prefer to be on something that's a little bit easier to wean off of, like an antihistamine, like Diclegis, which I think still has, of course, side effects, and I think still is something that you want to wean off of and not just stop cold turkey. But it is like a pregnancy, like I think they say type A, grade A drug that is actually FDA approved for pregnancy, where ondansetron, Zofran, is not actually FDA approved for pregnancy. It's more like it's the risk of severe dehydration, severe vomiting, malnutrition, all of that is so much more harmful to your baby than taking the drug. So that's why, of course, if, like, for example, I wish I went on Diclegis first. So, like, anyone who is kind of experiencing something like me, that is a hindsight that I wish I had. I also wish I tried to consistently take Unisum and B6 together. Like I said, it was hard for me to take vitamins, so it was hard for me to do that. But it did improve. I did feel an improvement. It just was not significant, and I was not being consistent with the B6 combination with Unisum, which my doctor said is the missing link. Like, you can't just take Unisum and you can't just take B6. Like, the combination is really important together. So my learning, and like what I would say, don't do what I did, is try to consistently take that combination together. And also, I wish I did take the actual Diclegis, which is basically that combination with, I think, like a kind of a little time-lapse formula. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think just the actual combination would have been a nice stepping stone before I went straight to Zofran. But just to honor how I was feeling in that moment, I was 12 and a half weeks. I hadn't eaten anything substantial in 7.5 weeks, and I was super worried about making sure I was getting nutrients. I couldn't take my prenatals because I was puking them up.